sweet like a buttercup. You're a Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall. Won't stop till I get enough.
Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. Today, we're going behind the scenes of a world you might think you already know pretty well, YouTube. But we're not just watching videos today. We're going to be uncovering how some of the platform's biggest names have turned online flout into some pretty serious fortunes.
It's a fascinating landscape. Social media has totally changed the game when it comes to wealth and influence.
Absolutely. And to guide us through this, we've got this great article from express.co.uk. It dives into the earnings of some of YouTube's top creators. Get this, they actually reveal the world's richest YouTube creator, someone who's wealthier than a lot of A-list celebrities out there.
That's pretty impressive, considering how competitive the platform is these days.
Right, but before we get to that top earner, let's start with a couple names you're probably already familiar with. KSI and Jake Paul. The article highlights that both of these guys are estimated to be worth a cool $100 million each.
$100 million each. That's an incredible amount of money. Especially considering they're both still relatively young, it really makes you wonder how they've achieved such massive success.
It really does. I know that KSI got his start making gaming videos way back in 2009, and Jake Paul rose to fame on Vine and even had a little stint on the Disney Channel. Clearly, they've both gone way beyond those early days. So walk us through this. How do YouTubers like KSI and Jake Paul actually build that kind of wealth? Is it all about those ad revenues that we hear so much about?
Well, ad revenue is certainly part of it, but it's just one piece of the puzzle. The real key is diversification, creating multiple streams of income that go way beyond just those YouTube ads. Both KSI and Jake Paul have been really savvy about this. They've tapped into sponsorships, of course, which can be extremely lucrative for creators with large and engaged audiences.
That makes sense. If you've got millions of people watching your videos every day, brands are obviously going to want to try and get their products in front of all those eyeballs.
Exactly. And both KSI and Jake Paul have actually gone a step further. They've launched their own merchandise lines, capitalizing on their personal brands and building those direct relationships with their fans.
So they're not just relying on YouTube as the middleman. They're creating their own businesses and their own revenue streams. That's smart.
It is, and they haven't stopped there. KSI, for instance, has moved into the music industry, releasing several successful albums and singles. He's also co-founded an energy drink company with Logan Paul, Jake Paul's brother.
Prime Hydration, right. I've seen it all over the place, even in my local grocery store.
That's the one. And what's interesting about Prime is that they've really targeted a specific market, the gaming and fitness communities. And they've also leveraged KSI and Logan Paul's massive social media followings to create a ton of hype around the brand. It's a great example of how these creators are using their influence to build successful businesses outside of YouTube.
So it sounds like they're really thinking like entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
spotting opportunities and building brands.
Absolutely. And Jake Paul has taken a different approach, focusing on building a career in professional boxing. Specifically, influencer boxing. Remember that match he had against Mike Tyson?
Oh yeah, how could I forget? It was all over the news. But wait, you're telling me that YouTubers are now boxing legends?
Well, legend might be a bit of a stretch, but it does highlight how these creators are leveraging their platforms to get into entirely new industries and reach new audiences.
So it's not just about making funny videos anymore. It's about building your own personal brand that you can extend across different platforms and industries.
Exactly. By diversifying their income, KSI and Jake Paul are making themselves less reliant on YouTube's algorithms and building more resilient careers for themselves.
That's a really important point. YouTube can be a fickle platform. Their algorithms can literally change overnight, impacting a creator's visibility and earnings. So having those different avenues for income provides a safety net for these guys.
Exactly. Now, we've talked about these two YouTube titans, each sitting on a $100 million fortune. But are you ready for this? The article drops a bombshell. Someone out there out-earns both KSI and Jake Paul combined, and that someone is MrBeast. Have you heard of him?
MrBeast?
Yeah.
I have. He's the guy behind those crazy YouTube challenges, right? The one who's always giving away tons of money and doing all those wild stunts.
That's the one. Jimmy Donaldson, better known as MrBeast, has built a massive following online by creating content that's both entertaining and incredibly generous. He's really known for those elaborate big-budget videos where he challenges people to complete these outrageous tasks, often for large sums of money.
Like that time he recreated the Squid Game in real life. I remember watching that. It went super viral.
That was a great example of how MrBeast really seems to understand how to make things go viral. He's really mastered the art of creating content that is designed to be shared and get people talking, which is absolutely crucial when you're trying to build a large online audience.
So when we talk about virality, what does that actually mean in the YouTube world?
Virality, in the simplest terms, is when a piece of content spreads incredibly rapidly across the internet and reaches a massive audience in a short amount of time. Think of it like wildfire. It starts small, but it spreads quickly and becomes almost impossible to contain. And for YouTubers, virality is the holy grail. It leads to a huge surge in subscribers and views, and ultimately, revenue.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So MrBeast has figured out how to create viral content, but how does that actually translate it to money?
Well, MrBeast's content brings in a massive audience, a really diverse audience. We're talking millions upon millions of viewers, and that's what makes him incredibly attractive to brands. Brands that are looking to advertise their products and services. He's been able to get major brand deals and sponsorships that can bring in a lot of revenue.
So he's not just making money from YouTube ads then. He's got all these big companies lining up to partner with him as well.
Exactly, and that's one of the key differences between MrBeast's approach and what we see with KSI and Jake Paul. While they've definitely also diversified their income, MrBeast has focused on building a brand that's all about over-the-top challenges and generosity and viral entertainment.
Like he's created his own genre.
You could say that. And it's clearly been working for him. According to the article, MrBeast is estimated to have a net worth of, get this, $1 billion.
$1 billion. Hold on. Rewind that. $1 billion. That's more than KSI and Jake Paul combined.
That's right. And what's even more amazing is that he's only 26 years old.
Okay. I need you to break this down for me.
Yeah.
How does someone that young make that much money through YouTube?
It's definitely a combination of factors, but a big part of it is that he's built an entire business empire around his YouTube channel. He's not just relying on brand deals and sponsorships. He's created his own ventures.
Like what?
Well, a great example is MrBeast Burger. Have you ever heard of it?
I have. It's a delivery-only burger chain, right?
Right. It's essentially a virtual restaurant brand that partners with existing kitchens to fulfill orders, and it's been incredibly successful. MrBeast used his online fame to launch this brand, and it blew up really quickly, especially with his fan base.
So he took his online audience
Yeah.
and turned them into customers in the real world. That's pretty brilliant.
It is. It really shows you how he's thinking beyond YouTube, beyond just views and subscribers. He's building a real sustainable business that isn't completely reliant on just one platform.
This is all really fascinating. So we've got KSI and Jake Paul diversifying with merchandise, music, boxing, and even energy drinks.
Okay.
And we've got MrBeast, who's not only mastered making viral content, but also built an entire burger empire. It really makes you wonder, what does the future hold for all these YouTube superstars?
That's a great question, and it's one that's really hard to answer. The world of online entertainment changes so fast. What's popular today could be old news tomorrow.
So how do these creators actually stay ahead of the curve then? What can they do to make sure they keep finding success?
Well, one key takeaway from all of this is how important it is to be able to adapt and innovate. These YouTubers haven't just gotten lucky with the platform's popularity. They've constantly changed their content and their strategies and their businesses.
They're not just content creators anymore. They're real entrepreneurs.
Exactly. They're always experimenting with new formats, new ideas, new ways to reach their audiences.
So they're always pushing the boundaries, trying to figure out what works.
Absolutely. And that willingness to take risks and try new things is essential when you're trying to stay relevant on a platform like YouTube.
But isn't there a chance that they're spreading themselves too thin? I mean, they're involved in so many things. Music, boxing, burgers, energy drinks.
That's a really good point. Diversification is a double-edged sword. It can help you create lots of income streams and reduce how much you depend on a single platform, but it can also make it harder to stay focused and might dilute your brand.
So it's a real balancing act. They need to be smart about what opportunities they go after.
Exactly. And that's where having a good team and a clear vision is so important.
So it's not just about being the funny guy on camera. You need to know how to run a business,
Right.
manage a team, and make smart choices.
Exactly. And let's not forget about all the pressure to stay relevant. YouTube is incredibly competitive. There are always new creators popping up.
So how do these big YouTubers stay on top then? How do they avoid getting replaced by the next big thing?
Well, that's where understanding their audience comes in. You have to change as your audience changes. Tastes change over time. Trends come and go. What people loved a few years ago might not be so interesting now.
So they need to be paying attention to what's popular,
Yes.
changing their content.
Absolutely. And they need to be aware of everything that's going on in culture. What are people talking about? What do they care about? What are their values?
So it sounds like it takes a lot more than just making funny videos these days. To find success on YouTube, you need to be business savvy, up on all the trends, and a master of keeping your audience interested.
I would definitely agree with that. It's a tough world. But for the people who can figure it out, the rewards can be huge.
Okay, so as we're wrapping up our deep dive into the world of YouTube riches, I want to ask you a question, our listeners. We've seen how these YouTubers have made millions, but what do you all think? What do you think the future holds for all of these YouTube giants? Will they continue to dominate the platform? Or will new creators and new formats come along and knock them off the top spot?
It really is the million-dollar question. The digital world is always changing. What's super popular today could be totally forgotten about tomorrow. But if we can learn one thing from all of these creators, it's that being able to adapt and innovate is super important.
Yeah, they've definitely shown that they can stay ahead of the trends. Just think about it. MrBeast and his crazy challenges, KSI killing it in music and boxing, and Jake Paul. Well, he's all over the place.
Right. They've always pushed the limits, tried new things, and figured out how to keep their audiences coming back for more. But the question is, can they keep that up as things keep changing?
What if new platforms come along? Platforms that all the younger audiences start to use. What if people get tired of seeing the same old stuff and start looking for something completely different? It's really hard to say what will happen.
It really is. And don't forget, it's not just about what's happening outside. These creators are going to keep changing too. Their interests might change. Their audience might grow up. They might even just decide to walk away from it all.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah.
So it's not just about the future of YouTube. It's about understanding these guys too. Their drive, their ambition, that need to always be changing to stay relevant. It's pretty interesting to think about.
It is, and it's a good reminder that even online, success isn't just about luck. It takes talent, hard work, and a willingness to jump into the unknown.
I love that. Well, I think we've given everyone a lot to consider today. From how much money these guys are making, all the ways they've built these huge online empires, it's been a wild ride.
It has. It's crazy what you can find when you start looking a little closer.
That's what we do here on The Deep Dive. So keep exploring, keep asking questions, and we'll see you next time.
Sound the alarm. I'm coming up. We'll have a ball. I'm sweet like a buttercup. You're bubbly.